Thank you. You want to?
Which do you think is harder, or is there a difference between movies and TV?
Can I take
Yeah, take this one.
That's a great question. As I think about that all the time, and when I started out, I always saw, that's a really good question. I always saw television as a way, talk about honesty, in a way you can secretly be honest in these formulaic situations. It's like kind of a dirty secret that you can really kind of give a lot to yourself and experiment as you're under these constraints of time. So it's a way of practicing your level of honesty, your technique, learning camera, because it all moves so fast. And whereas in movies, you can then apply what you've learned, keep it in the back of your mind on TV, and in movies, depending on the film, whether it's a big action film or a small personal film, you can take that you've learned on TV and then adjust to the camera in terms of a film. Like we were talking about size and tone of story. I think the TV experience feeds into the film experience. That's kind of how I see it. And film is just, it's almost like a grander, bigger arena. But in reality, they both feed each other in terms of it for me as an actor. So really the TV is like a great way to just educate yourself about how the whole thing works. And film is a way of really bringing out your best once you learn your relationship with the camera.
Yeah, that's how I started. I started off doing, I think my first kind of break, I suppose, was a show called Beautiful People. And yeah, thank you. I was just always embarrassed to be like, I was on a show called Beautiful People. Who are you? One of the beautiful people. It's kind of felt awkward, but yeah, no, I completely agree. You know, I think it's one of those things where I had that experience. I cut my teeth in TV, and then when I watched it later, I was like, oh my god, I'm so bad, I'm terrible, I shouldn't be an actor. And then, but I just kind of discovered how it is with the camera. And I was blessed. I live in LA, and I went 3 nights a week. My first 3 years in LA, so basically I have a diploma in this teacher, Jeremiah Comey, who's kind of like the secret best teacher in Hollywood. So it's pretty amazing. I was trained to do on camera, like really close up, like tight work like that. So, and yeah, it was great, you know. So I got a really good foundation from my acting class in LA, and then when I booked that show, I was just calling him every day from Toronto and just being like, I don't know what to do. I was the first time I've ever played a leading man type of role. I've always been a character actor. I've always played like the really crazy, like wild guy, and so to play like a really kind of like, just normal character, I was like, I don't know how to do this. So I called my teacher, Jeremiah, I don't know how to be myself. I became an actor to be someone else. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's not too much of a extreme difference. It's about the subtle nuances, and it's one of those things like, you know, work begets work, because, you know, like you figure out how to work out with the camera, and that is a relationship in and of itself. You know, I mean, it's a piece of equipment that you have to be conscious of, because well, it's gonna eventually put out a piece of art that, you know, is gonna be permanent. It's not gonna change unless it's a Spielberg movie, and then 10 years later it'll have like a different version. Unless it's a Lucas movie, then it'll be like a little something walking in the background, visualized later.
And I want to say it's the same thing for body parts modeling. Seriously, in front of the camera, there is some sort of art to it. I know maybe it's just my hands that the camera's focusing on, but some of the movements are just so subtle, and you know, you only have so much time to make this shot happen, and you know, you don't want to upset the director. So yeah, and a lot of times, and a lot of what I do is more like television commercials, so totally different world, and yeah, it can be tough, but you just work with it. You know, if you got a good director, it all works out. Hopefully.
Do you find that, do you want to try to act?
You know what? We can talk about that for a second. Yeah, because I've always thought about it, but it's interesting in New York and LA. I think that once you start doing one thing, and for me it's been body parts modeling for so long, you really get typecast after a while. You just do, and your agents kind of look at you like, why? This is who you are. You are our hand and foot model. That's what you are. That's the work that you get us work in that industry, in that part of the industry, and so they tend to hold back on giving me other things. But it's so funny now. They see me out and about, and I'm kind of showing my face here and there with Twilight. And I'm getting some articles written about me, a little publicity. So yeah, my agencies are starting to take a little more notice. Like, okay, all right, maybe she's onto something. Let's just follow her around and see what she's going to do next. So hopefully, that will come into something later on.
Yeah, that is true about. I'll be awful quick because more questions. I feel them. There is this thing that if you do something, you're sort of pegged that, and then you have to almost constantly fight against your own image on some level. And the way to do it, which brings me back to you, which is first time I met you, I always really loved this about you. And all the great actors I've ever met, actually, they have the same thing he has. And I hope it's a humility about work and a respect for the work. And there is no differentiation, in a sense, between doing a television show and doing a film, and it's like a respect thing. And it's that, I think that's sort of the kind of little key that ties you back into your music and ties you back into what you do. And anyway, got carried away there.
If you could go back in history and play any film role, what would you choose? Like any classic film or...
Nosferatu.
Do a remake.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
I would be one of the Marx Brothers.
Yes.
That's all.
There's so many options. I'll get back to you on that.
Oh. Back to me. Oh no. Throughout history, I mean, it's one of those things. Like I said before, it's like about other people's performances and all that. So it's kind of terrifying to me to compare myself to another actor. I get certain comparisons all the time. Like, just this dang hat in this city. I've been compared to Jack White a lot since I've been here. I'm just like, just gotta cut my hair. No, I can't do that. So it's funny, it's one of those things. I was thinking about it, and it's probably something like The Big Lebowski, man. I want to be the dude, but I'm not the right age or anything like that. All the parts I really want to play, like I have to wait another 10, 15 years maybe. So it's just it's interesting. I don't know if you found this, but there's not a lot of really serious meaty work for the young actor right now. It's they're trying to do some more stuff, but it's not that much really good like stuff. Usually it's like the kind of the high school the love triangles and all that, which is great. I mean, hey, I'll take a job, but it's still one of those things. Like you're kind of like, wait, there's a lot of really heavy stuff in life that we all go through, at every age, and it's kind of disappointing to see that. It's like one of the reasons I moved out to LA as opposed to New York, because in theater, there's no roles almost for when you look like between the ages of 15 to 24, as a young man, there's pretty much nothing out there, unless you're an amazing tenor. And I'm not an amazing tenor. I'm more of a barely tone. That's a music joke. I should be punished. Send me to the penitentiary. Don't forget to get the question. I hope I answered it. Yes.